there was this article that came out the other day, which I found fascinating, in the Daily Mail, and they talked about how the World Economic Forum, Davos, there's a little bit of debauchery going on over there.
Ooh,
so the title is
surprising.
Davos's Debauched Underbelly, How the Global Elite Indulge in Cocaine, Caviar, and Champagne at Secret Bunga Bunga Parties Behind the Scenes of the World Economic Forum.
What qualifies something as a bunga bunga party versus a regular debauched party?
I don't know, but I do know the last time I heard Bunga Bunga Party used was with, what was the guy's name who was the former Prime Minister? Berlusconi of Israel, who's got more...
Italy.
I'm sorry, Israel. That's hilarious. Berlusconi almost got it to a two-state solution. Okay.
That scene was there, maybe.
He was the former prime minister of Italy, and he has more plastic surgery than, like, Pamela Anderson or whatever the biggest porn star in the world is. Pamela Anderson's not a porn star, but you know what I'm saying.
Yes, I
did a lot of plastic surgery. More than any, like,
really well.
I know, more than any, like, Real Housewife of Hollywood or whatever. How about that? Is that better? And this guy had, allegedly had insane parties, but also was involved with underage girls. That was the other big knock on this guy. He's like a billionaire asshole. Anyway, so that's the last time I saw Bunga Party. That's where I saw it. And so I'm imagining like a similar level of debauchery at these parties. Okay. So look, I mean, the thing that I find more interesting in this conversation, not even the parties are going on, I really don't care, and I kind of expect it. The more interesting thing that I wanted to discuss was, what the fuck is this thing anyway? The World Economic Forum. Because when you see people, there's like people on the right and the far right and like the conspiracy theorist right who have this notion that like actually it's not just stuff like we described and standard corruption. It's also they're drinking the blood of kids and they are doing all sorts of, insane Illuminati type weird ritualistic sacrifice stuff.
Yeah.
So you have this conspiracy angle and these are people who control the world. That part is true. But they want like a globalist, Marxist, communist takeover, right? That's the right-wing reaction to it. And then a lot of liberals, I'd say, like the sort of the mainstream liberal reaction and elite media reaction is sort of like, well, no, because you guys are attacking them, now I'm just going to act like this is a Boy Scouts meeting gathering of people who only want to do right by the world and are trying to find solutions to problems.
Right.
And I find both of those takes just completely and utterly wrong. I think the reality of the situation is the conspiracy is in plain sight. These are all global elites. These are billionaires, CEOs, business people, head of central banks, and people with all sorts of power and celebrity and prestige. And they all get together. But effectively, what they're trying to do is a status quo protection racket because they're all powerful and they want to remain powerful. But they virtue signal like, well, here are the ways that we're going to save the world. So it's like very navel-gazy and self-masturbatory.
Yes.
But effectively, it's just a status quo protection racket. Because they're the rich, they're the powerful. They don't want to change too much. So in other words, instead of like a Marxist communist cabal, what we're talking about here is a hyper-capitalist cabal or an oligarch cabal.
Yes, that's exactly right. And even to call it capitalist isn't quite right. They really have no ideology outside of money and power. So if, it benefits them to have a authoritarian regime that is, anti-capitalist, but that is getting them as an oligarch tremendously wealthy, then they're happy with that status quo as well. I was reading this Wall Street Journal article that was like networking tips from the Davos elites that heavily quoted Anthony Scaramucci.
He was included in this article I read too.
I noticed that. How is this man getting all I guess he's the one person who will talk to literally anyone about his Davos experience. And he's so happy to be associated with the World Economic Forum because you've got the people who are the elite of the elites. And then you have the people who are the hangers-on, which is like a Scaramucci, who are desperately trying to get in the room. He talks about how he crashes all the parties and what his strategy is and how
what a loser.
It's so grotesque and how, they're constantly looking around to see how the most powerful, wealthy person is in the room. But yeah, I mean, as you said, the conspiracy is out in the open. I always find it so silly when the right wing pretends like the conspiracy is they want Marxism and green energy.
That is literally the last thing they would ever want is Marxism. Literally the last thing they would ever want.
I mean, a lot of these are oil tycoons. So you think they're we got to make everybody get off meat and only do green energy. This is not Woodstock or something. This is not their agenda. So it is preposterous. It's also The thing that grosses me out about it too is I don't know how, even though every year it's met by universal disgust at this point from the left and the right, how still it's given so much credence and credibility among political and economic elites. I mean, Jake Sullivan and Tony Blinken both were there giving speeches and
in the midst of
on panels.
Orchestrating a genocide, Blinken said, I'm going to go talk to these assholes.
Right. Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. I mean, we've got that. We've got, like, you know, tension. Taiwan just elect a new leader, and that's, you know, a tense situation. We've obviously got Ukraine. We've got the Red Sea and our stupid fucking escalate to de-escalate strategy there. We've got the genocide we're funding in Israel. I'm sure many other things besides. And they still find it worth their time to go to the World Economic Forum and then, by the way, to lie to everyone and pretend like they care about a two-state solution and that that's going to be the end state of the Israeli genocide on the Palestinian people. It's just the levels of grotesque. Honestly, I wish these people would just spend their time doing the bunga parties as long as there's no underage or non-consent involved there. But the cocaine, the champagne, the caviar, fine. Go do that and leave the rest of us the fuck alone.
So Ken Klippenstein was there a few years back.
Yeah.
And he made some interesting
That's
points.
amazing.
He saw some interesting things when he was there that he
Yeah.
shared with everybody. So one of the things he points out is that they'll have these like panel discussions, and it'll be framed around we need to start empowering workers to make them feel like they have, you know, independence and control and they can bring about their best selves. So they'll frame it like that, but then you get into the specifics. What the panel is really about is how do we raise the retirement age and how do we get these people back to the office?
Right.
So it's like they frame it in these virtue signally, like, you know, we're coming to save the day, we're all about you. But then the reality is we got to raise that retirement age because people are living longer and we need to get their asses back to the office. Another one that he talked about was quiet quitting. They were, you know, trying to come up with strategies to end quiet quitting because, oh my God, this is like a scourge and we need to make sure that these are just busy little worker bees. By the way, again, hilarious that they're ever, these are communists. These literally nobody could be further from communist. And then a couple more points. He talked about how in some of the economic hearings and like when they were talking about interest rates and things of that nature, everybody in the room was deferential to Larry Summers, who is, you know, the chief neoliberal goon who's okay with tremendous amounts of pain among working people if it means squeezing out a couple more pennies for corporate profits. And this year, Klaus Schwab, who's like the head boogeyman, you're gonna love this. So he came out and he was talking in a speech. He was praising Milei.
I saw that.
Of Argentina.
I saw that.
So, by the way, I've seen a lot of these right-wing conspiracy guys who really hate the World Economic Forum and hate Davos and hate Klaus Schwab and are all in on the conspiracy theories. I saw them sucking off Milei for being an anarcho-capitalist, right? And then here's Klaus Schwab agreeing with you completely, even though you virtue signal against Klaus Schwab.
Right.
So who really has the ideology that challenges power? It ain't you. It ain't the anarcho-capitalists. It ain't right-wing conspiracy theories that happen to, you know, feed the status quo and the powers that be as you think you're opposing it. You're not opposing it. You're not opposing it if you're not going after the billionaires and taxing the shit out of them. You're not. You're not opposing it if you're not breaking up big businesses. You're not. You're not opposing power if you're not supporting unions. You're not. I'm sorry, but all these things that, like, they think they're so edgy and they think they're challenging power, you're not, which is why Klaus Schwab agrees with you when it comes to Milei. So there's my rant on that.
And by the way, just so everybody is clear, it's not like Milei went there to, like, stick it to them and tell them the truth and to their face or whatever. No, he went to call them heroes and said that they have his unconditional support. And their support of him, too, by the way, comes as Argentina's inflation, thanks to his policies already, is surging past 200%. So that's what we're talking about here.
Anarcho-capitalism is market fundamentalism. And Argentina is going to have some rough times ahead because of it. Hey guys, it's just a little teaser clip from Crystal Kyle and friends. Today we spoke to Owen Jones on all things Israel. He's a great journalist and author, so definitely check it out. Link below in Substack. You can sign up for free and listen to the audio podcast, or you can pay $5 a month and get the videos a day early. And we don't talk to any advertisers for this show at all. Never have, never will. You guys fund it from the ground up. So thank you to everybody who does support us. And if you don't, please consider.